Clint, I got a dumb question for you. Where do you buy a ski mask in Texas?
Well, they look like they cut out a Walmart. Hey everybody, and welcome to the CineFix Top 100, the bank from which we're stealing 100 of the greatest movies of all time and then laundering them at a casino just over the border. I'm Clint Gage, and joining me, as per usual, Lord of the Plains, Michael Calabro. Cal, what's happening, man?
Hey Clint, how's it going, dude?
It's going great. Let's say great.
Yeah.
And make that happen over the next hour and change. And of course, right there at the table with Cal, he's never ordered nothing but a T-bone steak. It's Nick Lamone. Nick, what's up?
Boy, you think they're 10 of me. Damn it, I still messed it up.
Don't worry. We'll just go bury that joke on the farm like all the other getaway cars.
Yeah, we'll put it right there next to that rad Camaro.
That Camaro is rad.
I do love that you tried to use that joke though, because I almost used that joke for your intro. So it'll be in your lower third with typos probably at this rate. But guys, we're welcome back to the family season of the CineFix Top 100. We're 5 episodes in, and I mean, let me ask you this real quick: has the algorithm taught you anything new that you didn't already know about family?
I mean, I think it's just the stretches that we are able to take in order to establish what a family actually is, and nothing better than that. That's what family comes down to. It's just, you know, the company you surround yourself with.
Family is whatever you can BS your way into making family.
God bless rhetoric.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like, you know, if you watch Aliens as though the xenomorphs were a family and they're the main characters, bam, it's a family film. Mm-hmm. That's all it takes. I don't know. Maybe today's movie we can shed a little more light on what Dan really thinks about family, I guess is what we'll learn today. But today we're watching Hell or High Water. This is from 2016. It's the story of 2 brothers stealing from a bank that owns the lien on the family ranch so that they can use that money to buy back the ranch from the bank, which is a really cool plot. Starring Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges, Ben Foster, directed by David Mackenzie, written by Taylor Sheridan, who Taylor Sheridan at the time of this movie was Sicario's Taylor Sheridan, but looking back now, it's Taylor Sheridan of the Yellowstone Empire, which is kind of an interesting. It weirdly casts a different light on this movie.
It's quintessential dad core writer, which, you know, hats off to him. I think that's a wonderful market to be a part of. And you know what? I ain't a dad, but I love this movie and I love Sicario. So hey, maybe he's cooking for me specifically.
Do we think Denis Villeneuve made a dad core movie? I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about Sicario in depth on this, but like I don't know that that's dadcore. Just as a tangent.
I think Sicario is very much like a dad will put it on thinking it's dadcore and then realize there's more to it than that. Because let's be real, Denis Villeneuve does not make mom-core movies.
What constitutes a dadcore movie?
I think it's just, you know, good shootouts. You got rough and tumble dudes who are ready to shoot first and ask questions later, and maybe they drop a couple clever curse words along the way.
Okay. Then I definitely think Sicario meets that.
I think there's a level of masculinity that's being explored, but dadcore doesn't go into it thinking that, but that's like, oh wait, no, they actually do like the whole masculinity part of it.
So like everything's swimming in the wake of like Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. Tango and Cash.
Yeah.
Butch Cassidy.
Well, Tango, yeah, of course. That's. I mean, I do honestly think a key component of dadcore is Josh Brolin these days. Yeah. So Sicario might be right, but we'll have to. Maybe we'll get lucky and Sicario's on some high enough on somebody's list. We'll get to talk about it. But I mean, just to jump into the pedigree of this movie already, like to stay on Taylor Sheridan for a second. Like he was an actor for a while. He bounced around all over the place. He had a bunch of starring roles on TV shows and stuff like that. But then like a couple longer stints on some of them. But man, his first 2 movies as a writer for Sicario and then Hell or High Water, like way to come out swinging, man.
Like, you know, it's funny. I had to go back and look it up. I thought that this would have been his first movie because I personally think Sicario is just a more ambitious and bigger budget film, and I was like, great, he makes like the small like bank robbing drama and then like moves into like Sicario, and I was wrong. It's the other way around. This is the follow-up to Sicario, but like both of these movies are extremely well done, and at least like we'll probably talk about it more, but like I think the thing that really stands out to me in this film specifically is the plot, and that's all Taylor Sheridan, because that's all the screenwriting.
I think it's authenticity, right? He's writing, you know, my grandfather grew up on the ranch. I did not. So like whenever I'm hearing his character speak and it's coming from this level of, you know, it's just authentic. It feels like someone that I grew up with in Riverside, and just like we went different paths in life, and wow, this is me checking in on them, and I didn't expect them to be robbing banks.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sheridan's a Texas guy. Like he's from North Texas somewhere, and so like you know, this Hell or High Water. To your point, Cal, I do feel like Hell or High Water feels kind of like a spec script that he wrote before Sicario.
Maybe
like Sicario is the thing that blew up for him, and then it's like, what else can I sell real fast? And then this was it. It might have been one of those situations, but either way, I mean, for your first two films as a screenwriter to be so good is
well done.
Like it's rare. And then we don't have to. I mean, to be honest, I don't know that I've ever seen a trailer for Yellowstone. So like that is more than a blind spot for me. I have no idea.
I completely agree. Like I think I had never really considered it as being a thing I would like to watch, but now knowing that it comes from the guy who made Sicario and Hell or High Water, I'm like, okay, this seems like a thing I would actually love. So I don't know. There's just something about like the postmodern cowboy and the dying of the West that is still just a fun and interesting theme to explore throughout all media, and maybe Yellowstone is that. It kind of feels like it is that. So
I think it's more soap opera than Hell or High Water ever thought about getting, but
I think so. So like I don't know about you guys, but like Taylor Sheridan has a little something for everybody. While Yellowstone and Westerns don't, you know, necessarily apply to my taste and my sensibilities, he does have a show for me. It's called Tulsa King. And it stars Sylvester Stallone.
Tulsa King. Yeah.
And Tulsa King isn't good in a unambiguous term, but it is very much a guilty pleasure of mine, and I do enjoy it.
It is something else.
It's wild. Apparently there is no criminal in the entire state of Oklahoma that could beat up a 7-year-old man named.
They can't beat up Rocky.
You gotta. I really hope that his name in the show. I really hope the name in the show is Sylvester Stallone. Also, that would be
his
incredible.
name is Dwight the General Manfredi, and
that's perfect.
Oh yeah, he's great.
But so this is one of the more recent movies that we talked about. It came out in 2016, which is sneaking up on 10 years ago now. But did you guys see this in theaters, or did you come to it later?
Oh, dude, 100% saw this in theaters. It's a bank robbing movie, so
it should be right up your alley.
100%. It has
based on everything I know about you.
Real Bonnie and Clyde vibes here. Big fan.
Mm-hmm.
No, I discovered this movie a lot later. I watched it during the COVID pandemic, and I think that was my era of really doing a lot of my homework of like catching up on either action movies that I'd always been meaning to catch, or like just trash action movies that I just know I would love by watching. And this happened to be on the list, and it ended up being something that I would hold in a similar conversation as something like a No Country for Old Men, which I love. This isn't quite reaching that level, but I think inevitably when you talk about this movie, you unfortunately kind of need to talk about No Country for Old Men, just because they feel like such contemporaries.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's that neo-Western kind of thing. Anytime you can put neo in front of a genre, it's always a good time. But like the way that it goes about it's and I read some interviews with David Mackenzie, the director, talking about how much the 70s and that new Hollywood era kind of influenced him, and you can really see it. I mean, there's the No Country for Old, but it's No Country by way of The Last Picture Show, and Bonnie and Clyde, and even some Hal Ashby mixed in there. Like there's weird, subtle traces of the Harold and Maude type stuff in this movie, in terms of just like, looking at days that are looking more in the rearview mirror than what's laying out in front of you. These ideas like that there's a lot going on in this movie. Some of it I think is a touch on the nose, but a lot of it, for the most part, is done really efficiently, really subtly. And it's, if Goodfellas was all about where you grew up, and how you grew up, Cal. Like I, the Young County and Olney and Archer City and even some of the highways that get shout outs in this movie. Like I'm looking out my window at them right now. Like it's just, I live in West Texas, and a lot of this stuff is so immediately recognizable. And Nick, to your point about it being authentic, like, yeah, to go to media screenings, I had to drive to Dallas. I drive through all of these towns. And they look exactly the way they look in this. They shot most of it in New Mexico, but from what I understand, but they look exactly the way that they look in this movie. And that the idea that, a lot of these towns are just kind of dead.
I never grew up in Texas, nor have I ever lived in Texas, but I grew up in Riverside County here in California, which is very much farmland territory, horse farms, cattle farms, all that jazz. So I don't know, there's something about the overall look of this movie that brings me back home. And also, one thing that I really appreciate about this movie is, the stereotypical, the state of Texas as a character in of itself, but also all of the cast of characters that coincide with this location. Why you understand immediately when you meet all these people why they never left. They can't leave, but they're also fine with that. Like I'm immediately thinking of the waitress who says, "We only serve what don't you want here." Yeah. Like they're just beautiful characterizations in the span of 10 seconds that tell you everything you need to know about this character, and I love it.
Also, the quick New York jab too. Some guy from New York,
some asshole from New York ordered trout. Yeah, they don't serve goddamn trout. So yeah, that woman exists. That woman fully exists, and there's half a dozen of her that live in earshot of me saying this right now, I think, actually. But that is another fun thing about really interesting thing about this movie is that David Mackenzie he's Scottish, like he's and so I don't know. For me, it does kind of two things. Like number one, it says that the story that they're telling in this movie, isn't exclusively about West Texas. Like there's some degree of universality to it, and there's some degree of just like this is about these people and what they're going through, and they could kind of be from anywhere. Politically, there's a lot going on that is more specific to West Texas, but it's not even localized there. Like everywhere is having these problems. We're still very much in a time where all of this stuff is a struggle. So
is it really? I mean, I guess it's kind of political, but I think it's more like classist insofar as like it's, the opening shot with the graffiti. It's, it's just like kind of echoing the like,
social discontent.
Yeah, like the bailout for the rich, but not for average working Americans and stuff like that. Like
I love movies that feel like they're a snapshot in
like
time.
2 tours in Iraq, but no bailout for me.
Mm-hmm. I love movies that are a snapshot of a time and place because it is a wonderful glimpse into like almost a living history book that's really cool and stylized that someone drew in the margins on. And I think that's the beauty of film like this, where you are able to be transported to a time and place and also be shown very cool and exciting things at the same time.
Totally. And it's also like why it's just like echoes Bonnie and Clyde, because Bonnie and Clyde is living in the same kind of, both in generally the same location while also in the same like economic environment. Because don't forget, a lot of Bonnie and Clyde is about like them being on the lam and people helping them out because they're stealing from the banks that are foreclosing on their houses, which is exactly what's going on here. 100 years later?
Yeah. And that's really the great thing too about, like these guys are bank robbers and they're killers, or one of them's a killer. And they're, it is hard to root against these guys, and there are moments where you kind of think that Jeff Bridges is sort of the antagonist when it's like, the lawman is coming after them. And so that's like, to that Bonnie and Clyde energy, like that's a tricky thing to pull off.
What I like about this and how I definitely think that this like builds on the Bonnie and Clyde formula is it's almost like he sat down and was like, what happens if we wrote a Bonnie and Clyde where they get away with it? Because like Bonnie and Clyde is very much not that. That is they're like pure Ben Foster. Like they like being criminals and they don't have a long-term plan, and it eventually catches up with them. But like that is not what the movie does. Like that's not what this movie does as a whole. It very much is, Chris Pine's character does have a plan, and it is like executed not flawlessly because like his brother's
He's a wild card.
yeah, but it's executed successfully.
But I think it was designed in a way that he knows he cannot do it by himself because he doesn't have that dog in him the way his brother does. And I mean, we see him throughout the movie. We see Chris Pine's character kind of drop the ball multiple times. You know, they strip the guy with the revolver in one of the opening bank things, and he places the gun right there on the counter. It's like, what are you doing, man? I've never robbed the bank, but I wouldn't put it within arm reach of the guy. But just things like that. Whereas, you know, we see Ben Foster's character way more like, just he gets it. He has seen the other side of the law, and he's fine living on that side of the law for the rest of his life. It's very good. I love the brotherly dynamic.
Just before we get into brilliant moment stuff, the one other generality that I want to say about this movie is this is the movie that convinced me Ben Foster is the most interesting thing in whatever movie he's in. Like he did Warcraft this same year. In 2016, he was in Warcraft, and he played that wizard like a heroin addict. It was incredible. 3:10 to Yuma was prior to this, but he went into that movie and he stole it right out from under Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. Ben Foster is so interesting, and particularly in these, like there's so much going on underneath the surface of Ben Foster. Like he's just like. He's just getting chewed up from the inside out every time he's on screen, it looks like. And they're like, for this performance in particular, from the lows all the way to the high, like he can be screaming and literally barking at Chris Pine, and it's great and it's funny, and he's terrifying when he's waving his gun around. But then he'll get real quiet. Yeah. And it's like, oh God, that's worse.
Nobody.
And so like from the entire spectrum of this guy he's incredible from one side to the other. So
yeah, I mean, like, just again, going from his the gas station encounter to him being the quiet menace to him just drinking beer with his brothers and just kind of jokingly, nobody gets drunk off beer. Like, it's just he's such a fun character throughout the entire movie.
Yeah. Beer ain't drinking, right?
A Nebraska quote, great quote. Use that a ton during college.
One other thing I'd like to touch on before we dive into the specifics is just this movie's use of language and dialogue. Like, I think it is how normal people speak, but elevated in a way that is the most dramatic it can possibly be, whether it be a joke, whether it be a conversation between, the heat conversation between Jeff Bridges and Chris Pine. Everyone is speaking the way normal ass people speak. And yet it is just, we see the best possible version of what that conversation, what does the clever version of that conversation look like? And what is the subtext there? And I think this movie is such a wonderful study of dialogue and subtext, and just how you can really do a lot with your dialogue by doing less.
I think that's a lot of what makes this movie so good too. Because I would say the same thing about the music. Nick Cave and Warren Ellis did the music for the film, and I read an interview with Warren Ellis when he was talking about he articulated one of my favorite flavors of film music, which is minimal and sparse, and I think it's easy to sort of look past the music in this movie, but it's so they use it where they need it. And they use it thoughtfully, and they use it to add to an atmosphere, to highlight things, to accentuate things. It's never music for the sake of music. It's never like, well, this is an exciting scene, so I need some exciting music. It's like, no, if you don't need it, you don't need it. And if it doesn't work right, don't use it. And so the music is I think, a real, sort of quietly one of the best parts of this movie.
Well, I mean, there's a scene where they're driving to the shootout, right? And they throw on some music.
Oh yeah.
And then a song plays. He's like, not this one. And then that just becomes
that heavy metal Jesus stuff.
Diegetic to non-diegetic music, and it's funny, and it still evokes the vibe, but it's clever.
Hell, not that.
I also just like that, like, just quick, put on some chase music.
Yeah. Put on some chase music.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Let's get some giddy up music going on there. Oh, please, not that.
All right, shall we do brilliant moments?
Let's do it.
We have to talk about the opening.
Yeah.
So good.
I think, to start with, because it's my favorite thing when a movie, sort of really efficiently teaches you what you're in for with the rest of this film, right? Like, I think everything before the title card of this movie, this entire cold open, it's like the first 4 or 5 minutes or whatever. It's just a tiny little microcosm of the whole movie. You've got this great kind of a oneer up front, where you're just panning around this town, and you get that graffiti that we were talking about. It's weird and eerie and unnatural, and the Camaros driving around like Jaws kind of in the background. And I also read another great quote from the director of photography talking about how to make a shot like this last a little longer than it should, so that it doesn't feel like the language of cinema is such that we're all more or less fluent in it now. And so, it's like, well, what am I supposed to be looking at here? Like, it's just the way that the camera moves past the teller as she's walking. Like, normally you would have the teller move and motivate the camera, but instead the camera moves past her and then she catches up to it. And the car does the same thing as it kind of disappears around buildings. So there's something that just doesn't feel quite right. Like, it's a very slow and smooth and kind of, there's a little bit of a dolly and a pan, and it's kind of a 360, and it's not a normal feeling shot. And it's such a cool way to start the movie.
Also, all of the exposition, right? That is just like so subtextual. Like, you could tell that it is robbery designed by Chris Pine, because it's empty, right? Like, there's no one there except that woman. They're like so early, so because the parking lot's empty. But on top of that, like, you get to see the graffiti, and then like it pans around this like empty parking lot, and then like across the street there's just like 3 crucifixes on an old tire store that is for sale. So it's just just a dusty, empty town.
Dying town to some extent. And also I love like any camera movement that makes the audience complicit in whatever's about to happen, and it feels like the camera is you are casing the joint with our brothers. Like, we are figuring out what is at play, what's going on, what are the surroundings, and it looks like, honestly, it seems like it's going to be a pretty easy robbery based on how everything is looking.
But then, you move into the actual robbery itself, and this is one of those moments where Ben Foster really runs the whole gamut right up front. Like, he runs in with the gun and he's yelling at her, and then when she calls him stupid, the only thing y'all are guilty of is being stupid. Yep. And then that like slow call me stupid again thing. But then the scene ends with him like staring her down and then going, "You're stupid." So like there's that bit of just like spiteful little kid mixed in with all of this, all like the bravado and the anger and how he's just having fun doing this. Like, this is who he is, full stop. Like, he loves to do this, and he loves being the bank robber, and he loves, he talks about the Comanche throughout the entire movie. And, he's got a great line as they're driving away from this scene, I think, where he says something along the lines of, the whole of Texas after us, hunting our shadow. And so like, it's such a romantic notion for him.
Yeah.
And for him to be, essentially just a remorseless killer, for him to also be that romantic about what he's doing is a really interesting combination.
I also just love this actor here who is, again, like we've been talking about it this entire episode, of how there's just so many recognizable characters that even though we've never met him, we feel like we've known people like this our entire lives. And just, again, going back to the level of like dialogue and language that's being used when she's being interviewed by Jeff Bridges later in the movie, what color was their skin, or what was it? What's the line?
Their skin or their souls?
Their skin or their souls. Yeah. Were they black or white? Their skin or their souls? Like stuff like that is just, you can envision your grandparents saying something like that, but just in the best, most poetic way possible. She just happens to do it during this interview, and it's just it's so good.
Clint, I got a dumb question for you. Where do you buy a ski mask in Texas?
Well, they look like they cut out a Walmart.
Yeah.
Whatever. Where do you buy blank? In Walmart.
I do like how shoddily their outfits are put together. Like, it doesn't look like the romantic burglar.
I will say this though. I mean, just like,
and those are a couple of like 2XL hoodies on guys that are usually mediums. But I will just say this:
I've watched a lot of bank robberies. I watched a lot of movies about bank robberies. Like the subtle like creative flourish on those scenes is the masks, right? Like you know whether it's the hockey masks in Heat, or the president masks in Point Blank, or like the joke in Baby Driver. It's like, I thought you said to get Michael Myers masks, and he's like, these are Michael Myers masks. And there's just like the Austin Powers mask. Like that is a good bit, and I genuinely respect the production designers like small flex of like, well, this is what they're gonna use to conceal their face, because like even like the clown masks in The Dark Knight, like bank robbery scene we've talked about on this show, it's like that shit like transcends the film to be slightly iconic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here you can tell that it's just the focus on. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they gave, beanies to Ben Foster and Chris Pine. They're like, make your own hockey mask. And they like cut the eyes out and everything themselves. But
I just wish there was a scene where it was like, where Chris Pine was like, did you get the mask? And then like, it was Ben Foster's character who got to choose what the masks were. Because I feel like that character would have like...
He would have gone a little ham.
He would have put some personality into it, is all I'm trying to say.
But the rest of this cold open ahead of the title card, like we get to see them bicker. We get a really great taste of their relationship as brothers, like the sort of slap fighting energy of how they talk to each other, and we see their roles so clearly and so immediately. Chris Pine's like, we gotta go where nobody's there. You're not supposed to hit the guy, and Ben Foster's just excited. I mean, literally barking. He literally barks at Chris Pine. And to also sort of establish kind of the low-ish stakes of this world. Like they're robbing banks a couple thousand at a time because what do they need? 43,000, 43 grand?
They don't take large bills.
But that's the writing. And what I mean by that is like that's like really really smart, because like they're deliberately taking the low numbered bills because there's not going to be any of the die packs or any of that weird shit in them. It's just like this is money the bank can literally afford to lose, and they're gonna just do a couple. Like I genuinely think the most brilliant thing about this movie, and all credit to Taylor Sheridan, is the actual plot.
The caper?
Yeah, like these guys are robbing a specific chain of banks, and they're doing it in a way where they're going to like take the small marked bills because they are not traceable, launder that money through a casino, because I think that's the thing that doesn't really hold up. Like, it's just like, if you just take any money to a casino and get a check, it's like, oh, it's legitimate now. And then like pay off your mom's house. Pay off.
No, that feels like a point that he didn't really. It sounds right, but then he didn't really follow up on that, because I think the most covered by cameras place in the world are casinos, right? And so like, they, by the time they're done with all this, like that was kind of the thing that I was thinking towards the end when Jeff Bridges goes back and he's talking to the woman that's taken over his job, and she's like, there's nothing to connect him to the robberies. It's like, except for all of the cameras that saw him changing like thousands of dollars at a casino. But whatever. Again, that's one of those things that it's like, if that's the thread you're pulling on, you're watching the wrong movie,
100%. But that, like, it's such a small thread, and I genuinely respect that. And like to just like bring it full circle. And like what I mean by like the classist warfare, like the classist warfare that's going on, it's like they rob these banks, they do it in such a smart way, and like they do it on like what is seemingly small stakes, pay off the house, and that's when like you learn that there's like oil on that house, and then they put it in a trust in the bank's name. So now that like the bank is just getting to hold all of the wealth from the oil pumps, and thus subsequently get to loan that money out and make money off of it. Now the bank is like, whoa, we don't need you investigating the people.
We're good.
The people that robbed us.
I mean, that's the thing that separates like good writing from great writing, is I think that there is something about including the audience on a clever plan in a way that makes them feel like almost they came up with the plan and like, well, yeah, I would have thought of that too if I had been in this situation. And I think that there is that level of watching pros at work that makes any movie exciting. Like I'm thinking specifically of any Michael Mann movie. You have your, unnecessary shots, but still super cool that we see people who are very good at what they do executing on a thing in a very specific way. And it's being included on that makes the audience feel more clever than they might actually be. And again, who doesn't want to screw over a big bank? Everyone's been wronged by a bank at some point in their life. So it's a sympathetic plea that we are witnessing.
Right. And I do think too that like so much of this movie is about, it's such a great exercise in how to reveal that sort of exposition. Like Nick, you're talking about, the audience feeling like they're coming up with the idea right along. It's because like there's a version of this caper that's sort of like Ocean's 11, right? Where they get themselves painted into a corner and then they get out of it and we get the flashback to reveal that how they planned for that all along or some nonsense like that, which is like, that works great when it's a whole bunch of sexy people stealing from a casino or whatever. But like in this one, the way that they dole out the information, and because it's another one of those, the rule, like it's clearly a solid and fairly simple plan. They never explain it start to finish. They never talk about it. Like Ben Foster and Chris Pine never talk about it because why would they?
Right.
They both know it. They're both on the same page. They both agreed to go and do it. So there's no sense in having a scene where like if they had a scene where Ben Foster's like, all right, walk me through this one more time, like just for our benefit, like that would have been, and so we just kind of get to tag along while we see it play out. And yeah, that gives us time, Nick, to your point about, coming up with it at the long, that gives us time to think about what he's doing and to really come around on our own to be like, oh, this is a good idea. Like I get it.
We
man.
discover it just as Jeff Bridges does, which is delightful.
Yeah, exactly.
Midland manages the trust. You'd think they'd want this thing figured out.
The other crazy thing about this too, and it's just like, I didn't really realize it until this time. It's just like, you have to be nuts to want to rob a bank in Texas. In every one of those scenes, there's just a random bystander that's armed.
Well, even the old man at the front says it. He's, you got a gun, old man? He's like, you're goddamn right. I got a gun. Like, of course I do. But again, that's one of those great things. It would just tie it back around to, I guess we're still talking about the cold open as a brilliant moment, but to, even the fact that there's a guy with a gun that's shooting at him as they're driving away. Like everything that happens in this first 4 minutes comes back and happens again at a bigger scale later in the movie. So that first 4 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it is like this little short film version of this whole movie. Mm-hmm. Every element that they're going to run into down the road and every challenge that they're going to face and overcome and all of that good stuff, like it all happens right up front and it happens quickly and efficiently and it's shot really interestingly. And the movie did get nominated for Best Editing, which when I read that, I was like, okay, sure, I guess. But like there are moments, and there are other moments that we can talk more about later, but I do think it's things like this cold open that really, the editing really sings in this movie. How quickly they establish things, how quickly they let you in on what's coming for the rest of the movie, and how they dole out all that information. A lot of that is in the script, of course, but it's in the cut too. You make a movie 3 times, right?
There's a certain momentum to this opening that I really like because after they rob the first or attempt to rob the first place, you're like, okay, they're done. I can breathe a sigh of relief. But then it's like, nope, we're hitting our next bank. And it's one of those things where maybe I just haven't seen enough bank robbery movies, but robbing 2 banks in a day is crazy to me. It's like, what do you mean? I got to do it again? Like, I could not even imagine the audacity of that. Like, that's nuts. And then,
and the reason that they do that too is, and this is the other fascinating thing about this movie, is like every scene has a character purpose more than it has, anything else. Because they're not letting us in on what the plan is, or there's barely any exposition. Like it's all character stuff. And so even this, you can see how it's weighing on Chris Pine's character. He's stressed out about like, but meanwhile, Ben Foster's like, I could do this all week, and so like you so quickly, see where their heads are at after these first two bank robberies.
And just the the personality we're given with all these characters. You know, this old cowboy is cashing in a bunch of coins he found under a bag of feed in his barn because times are tough.
Yeah.
And then, okay, now he's suddenly a player in this thing, and you know, turns out he's got a gun and he is not afraid to use it. And I think that's the thing that always, you know, the Texas of it all is like, it's one thing to have the gun, but then it's the audacity of, the guys have left, I'm going to pick up this gun and I am going to pursue because I need to right this wrong.
Well, don't forget about at the end, like the little town
And the way
forms a posse.
he just fires off a round into the window. Like, I don't even know what he's aiming at. He's just like, gun. Like,
that actually cost the
rules.
bank maybe more money than they stole.
yeah, no, it's more expensive. I'm sure there's plywood still on that window.
I was talking about this with Cal a little bit before the podcast, but the one suspension of disbelief that I have a hard time with this movie is that in no way do I believe that Chris Pine and Ben Foster are brothers. And I don't like Chris Pine later on in the movie has a whole speech about growing up poor. I get it. It's a movie. You're telling me Chris Pine with that beautiful face and blue eyes, there's no way that man's growing up poor. Come on.
one of my core memories about this movie is I've got a buddy that he just really wanted to grow a mustache, and he had his hair kind of long, and his girlfriend, who's now his wife, wouldn't let him grow a mustache until she saw Hell or High Water and Chris Pine. She's like, I don't know, maybe that's an okay look. Give it a try. And to this day, he still has the mustache.
Nice. Well done. Well done.
So if Chris Pine is too handsome to play this character, who do we get? Who do we get a little homelier? You know, a little.
We'll save it for the Nick Cage section, I think.
There's one dude I thought of because in this conversation, the guy from Get Out, the brother of the family, that dude would be perfect. I think as one of the brothers.
He was in 3 Billboards too.
He's in 3 Billboards and he's in Twin Peaks. The
Sam
Return.
Rockwell could have been.
Yeah.
You had a good one too. The
Sam Rockwell can do anything. Yeah.
the actor who plays Rorschach in the Watchmen movie. He could be a solid brother lead as well.
You know,
I feel like
you
they look like they could be more related. Yes, what's Caleb Landry? There you go. I feel like this guy would be
Caleb Landry Jones.
He would feel at home in this movie.
what happens if we went a different route? And what happens if it was a more Paul Walker Hauser or like the Richard
Paul Walter Hauser.
Yeah, Richard Jewell.
Yeah, I could see it. But sorry, I didn't mean to distract us, but just a thing that popped up. When
it's
he
okay.
takes off the beat, I'm like, oh man, come on, Chris Pine, really? Out of all the people. He does great.
Those blue eyes.
He's fantastic, don't get me wrong. And it is a movie, but man.
That is funny though when he cleans up at the end. I kind of didn't buy that. It was like, we need to just visually see you have money now. So he's clean shaven.
Yeah.
And the other thing that he did is he switched from Lone Star to Shiner. That's the beer. The beer he gives Jeff Bridges at the end is a Shiner, but they were drinking Lone Star earlier.
Shiner's the step up, right?
Yeah. From Lone Star?
Yeah.
Most everything is.
Yeah.
I like Lone Star.
I like that you like Lone Star.
You still drinking those Pennsylvania beers? Those Yankee beers? You got any more Yingling left at home?
No, I'm out of those. I know. I don't know that anybody that lives near me listens to this show. So, all right. What's the next brilliant moment we want to talk about?
The diner scene. I really like that diner scene a lot.
The conversation that they have before he goes and.
Yeah, it's Katie Mixon, right? Like the love interest from Eastbound and Down, which she's incredible in that first season of Eastbound and Down. Like that. God, I love Danny.
She is delightful though in this scene where it's like, again, we've all sat in this diner before. We understand everything that's happening here, and again, a good example of just subtext over everything. All the dialogue is just alluding to other things, and it's so fun.
And talking about how you're right about like this is stuff that normal people would say, but it's just like slightly elevated. Like the lines where it's just like, I know that they're handsome because you didn't come out yelling that like you saw them. And also like the fact that she had the wherewithal of the law to know that they would need a warrant to take her $200 tip is wild. I don't know if most waitresses know rights like that.
I mean, it's the blue collar of it all that's so sympathetic, right? Like, we love that these characters understand the way the world works, and they worked hard for their money, and they will be damned if anyone is going to take it from them. And we like it when they're clever.
And there's also a, go f yourself. You don't get to tell me what to do. That's underneath a lot of this stuff. Even it's as gung ho as a lot of the way that the after that last bank that they rob and they walk out and like the whole town is pulled up with their guns and it's just a shootout all of a sudden. As gung ho as everybody as all of those characters are to like help hunt these guys down, like for every one of those, there's another one that's just, giving Jeff Bridges a hard time about like, why don't you, leave me alone? You don't get to come in here and tell me what to do. You're going to take my tip money? Like, that's my mortgage. Get out of here. You don't get it. Get out of here.
I think there's also really just delightful like visual storytelling that's happening in this in terms of the money that he leaves Jenny Ann, because earlier we're in their car and Ben Foster and Chris Pine are chatting saying, hey, look, that money in your front pocket, that's enough to pay your child support for this month or whatever. And then later on we see him literally take, as he's paying her, he takes the money out of his big front pocket and kind of thinks about it for a second and then just leaves the entire stack. So we know that was the money intended for his family. And, he's a sympathetic guy. And I really like that level of visual storytelling there.
There's, and also there's no small amount of Robin Hood going on here either, and like that's a story that is obviously super old and super well traveled. And so mixing some of that into this movie I tell you, this movie does more than you think.
It's great.
The conversation that Tanner and Toby have before Toby goes across the street and robs the bank, that is such it's such a cool scene, in that you've got an older brother. It's not lost to me that Ben Foster is the older brother, right? But he's also the screw up. He was in jail for 10 years and he left his little brother to take care of their mom while she was dying and all of this stuff. And it's that moment where Ben Foster's character leans over and is like, you want some advice? And it's that moment too where there's like there's that family thing of like, my role as a big brother is to take care of you to some degree. And that's a thing that Ben Foster never loses in the entire movie. And so to this point in the film, especially, this is still decently early in the movie, he's this wild dog of a madman who's just loving, being a bank robber. And then this is the moment where he slows down for a second. And there's like some genuine, it's like, no, I care about my brother and I want to make this right. And he's talking about his kids and when was the last time you saw him and you need to go see him again, like go see him right now. And so again, like this character and Ben Foster's character and his performance as Tanner it runs the whole gamut. He does everything and none of it feels forced. None of it feels out of character. Like he's created this little, and it's super evident in this conversation, but he's created this character where he can do any of that stuff. Like he can run to any corner of the room and it wouldn't be a surprise. And it's such a good role.
It's great. All of them are great. One of the, speaking of like dynamics that we, brotherly dynamics that we need to talk about because we haven't really talked about them yet is Marcus and Alberto.
Dude, the cop duo extraordinaire.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Rangers, right?
Yeah, they're Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers, please.
Yeah.
Dude, they're delightful. It is one of those things where I'm like, I know that this is their dynamic, but I can't help but feel that Alberto has just a lot of disdain for
Alberto. 100% hates him. I do think it's that scene where they're at the motel and he just like kind of turns over, but his eyes are still open, and it's just like
he can't stand him.
And he grins a little bit too, like he's. Yeah, and this is when I mentioned the editing earlier. This is the other bit of editing that I was going to talk about. Was there's those moments where there are scenes that are juxtaposed between Chris Pine and Ben Foster, and then also Jeff Bridges and Gil Birmingham, I think is his name. They kind of cross-cut between the two of them, and they're drawing real, like very real and immediate comparisons to their relationships, and they're very similar. There's even one, like, it's not a full-on match cut, but it's close to a match cut of Alberto rolling over and facing the camera. And then we cut to Chris Pine from the same angle while Ben Foster's having sex in the bed over in the casino hotel.
He's got his
room.
shirt pulled up over his head,
like,
and they're just kind of trying not.
Yeah,
he's
trying not to hear it. Yeah. Jeff Bridges' character, the ranger that is being forced into retirement. Like that's, obviously nothing in a movie ought to be an accident, but like the idea that here's this old guy who's literally being pushed out to pasture, and he's kind of a piece of shit. Like the fact that he's being forced into retirement, and then he's making all these Native American jokes, and he sees it as he's just teasing it, but who knows how it depends on the day, I'm sure, how it lands on Alberto and how much he dislikes Jeff Bridges' character. But like, it's very much that transitional thing of like, there is a world that is on its way out. And that's what this whole movie is about. And having Jeff Bridges as a character that embodies that, of this, old school, gonna make racist jokes, do things the old fashioned way kind of guy that's literally being forced into retirement, is such a good choice.
Both guys are on the verge of retirement because I don't think Chris Pine is, working anymore.
Yeah,
he's
totally.
They're both done. By the way, I just love the line while they're in the hotel room where they're watching like the event, like the preacher.
Oh, the evangelical. Yeah.
This sumbitch, he wouldn't know God if it crawled up his pant leg and bit him on the pecker, which is a hell of a line. And then like I think he makes like some like crude comment too, like about like Gilberto's like Native American heritage, and then he's just like, I'm Catholic.
Well, earlier I think is when they're interviewing one of the bank tellers, when he's like, I'm half Mexican. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna save that.
I'm gonna save those jokes for later.
Native American jokes. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like this is a funny movie. Also, it's I think Tanner is really funny, and you can tell that I feel like there's some sort of improv moments where it's like you let the take keep going. It's the "you're stupid" bit. Like all these little buttons at the tail end of scenes are really great, and you got to get the sense that like the scene's over, and then it's Ben Foster saying something that's just really funny, and they leave it.
It's funny you bring that up because I read an interview in Filmmaker magazine with the DP who literally says one of the things that David Mackenzie and I wanted to do was shoot single camera on all but the action scenes. So we had to be realistic about the working practices that would allow us to make our days and give David some freedom in the edit while allowing actors the time to do these amazing performances. Like they literally built their days around making sure that they had a couple of extra takes to allow them to just improvise. And the DP attributes that to not having a video village. It's just like they just set up a small monitor.
Oh, wow.
Like they just like set up a small monitor next to the camera so like the director can see, and it's just like, we're gonna let him riff. And like the DP is like, because they didn't have that like allowed 2 to 3 extra takes per setup.
I dig that.
That like a
Video Village. Yeah. If you don't know Video Village, it's this little, they set up a tent basically on set with, that's where everybody, there are chairs for the director, producers, actors, everybody can go. They do a take and then they come over and they watch it and they talk about it and everything. But if you don't have that, then that shaves a lot of time off your day. Then you can just. I also read that they only had Chris Pine for like 2.5 weeks.
Oh wow, jeez.
They shot so they shot that half of the movie in a hurry, and then they shot the Jeff Bridges half of the movie second, and they had a lot more time with that. So like the pace of that stuff is a little more easy than the pace of which. Honestly, it's one of those great, it's one of my favorite things to say is be where you are. It's one of those great things of just like using a limitation to your advantage. So like the stuff with Chris Pine and Ben Foster is a little more harried, a little more hustle, big, and that works for their characters.
Very frantic energy, it perfectly works for their storyline. One thing I do really enjoy about going back to Marcus as a character, he's not a bad person. I think he is a dude who is a man out of time to some extent, a dying breed.
No, his time has passed for sure.
And I just love that despite his, racism and how just kind of an asshole he is, he's still so charming. And I think a lot of that comes from Jeff Bridges is making that asshole likable. And I think that is just, it does a good job of, we have our bank robbers who, we know bank robbers are supposed to be bad people, but we can't help but feel sympathy for their plight. The same is true of the other side of the law with Jeff Bridges. Yeah, he kind of sucks, but it's Jeff Bridges, and he's so charming, and he's so funny, and like I want to be his partner, even though he would make fun of me.
And he also like gave a shit because like
he
when
cares.
when Gilberto gets aced,
that
like
look of pain on Marcus's face is just it almost brought me to tears just to see that level of pain on his face.
Yeah. Well, and that's, if we want to just hop to that moment for just a second, like the way that they stage that too, where it sneaks up and gets you, because it's not like they don't show Tanner aiming and drawing a beat. Like if they could have shown Alberto down the scope, and they could have seen that he's being targeted and then he gets shot. But instead, like Jeff Bridges is like, he's kind of looking the other direction. He's just talking and he didn't even realize that he gets shot for a second. Like it takes a second to even realize that he got hit.
Yeah, it's like he's actually, I think, insulting him as he goes.
Yeah. There's no blaze of glory, which is what they talked about in the car ride over, right? That he's going to go down in a blaze of glory. That way, reach retirement early this way. And it's just so uncaring. And, there is nothing heroic about it. It is people who again, I've never been in a gunfight, but I imagine it's not as valiant or as like glorified as most movies make it out to be. And I do love this turn from traditional heroic standoff with the good guys and the bad guys to this very desperate, very uncaring world. The clock keeps ticking as the world, moves on to what happens next. Somebody died. Jeff Bridges cares, but ultimately a universe is uncaring. And I just love how that scene and Jeff Bridges' performance really captures that, like, just stripping of the valor of it all.
Okay, we didn't talk about Amber Midthunder.
No.
Prey from Prey. Who Prey was one of my favorite, honestly, one of my favorite movies of the whatever year that came out. Like I'll go back and watch that last fight scene between her and the Predator.
It rocks.
I kind of keep it queued in my recently played list on Disney Plus. But she's, and this is one of those roles too that I think it's such a small role and it's so easy to kind of overlook. But and maybe had she not been the lead in Prey, you wouldn't think twice about it. But you can watch it and you can be like, oh no, she's good. There's something there. Like there's something there that, maybe she's going to lead a movie at some point. And she's in it for what? A minute tops?
Yeah, about a minute.
She's
tops.
got half a dozen lines.
Pre and post robbery.
She also plays a bank teller in another movie that just recently came out called Novocaine, which is nowhere near as good as this movie.
Don't tell Jack Quaid. There's another scene that happened a little earlier that I wouldn't mind talking about is the gas station.
Yes, it's so good.
They're driving, and this is another one where like the mileage that they get out of every frame that they shoot is really something else in this scene, because they're sitting there. It does a bunch of things. Like number one, leading into the scene, the brothers are connecting again because they start singing a song together. And they kind of chuckle a little bit together. And so like there's a sort of relaxing that's happening leading up to this scene. And then they pull up to this gas station and there's a dude with a horse. Dude gets on his horse and rides away. Like somebody rode their horse to the gas station, which is when I say it like that, I'm just now realizing like, why does a horse need a gas station?
Yeah.
Which is a really funny image now that I think about it. But then these assholes drive up in some sports car blasting awful metal music. If you're into metal music, by the way, Nick, I didn't mean that.
No, it's okay.
But these guys, and they just start trying to pick a fight with Ben Foster, and then it gives Chris Pine's character a chance. It gives Toby a chance to really kind of go haywire on these guys, and it shows, like, to your point earlier, Nick, of just like, I don't buy that these guys are brothers.
Yeah.
This scene,
it sells
I
it.
do.
It sells it. Yeah.
Right?
You sell the relationship
because that rage that Tanner's got, that he doesn't mind, that he's kind of at home with, he doesn't mind cutting loose. That Tanner's always kept at bay. Like here, he lets it go. Like he beats the crap out of this dude. And my favorite part of the scene is the guy in the passenger seat. He's like, he had it coming.
Well, what are you doing? You just like watch your buddy just get disarmed and like f***ed up in 30 seconds.
And you could tell he impressed his older brother by doing it too. Like he's loving it.
It's
He's not acting. He's not acting at all.
At
He's not even moving. It's just like the smallest of smiles creeps across his face.
And just laughing about it the whole time. Like, oh, you're getting good at this, man. Like when he throws the gun away, he's like, oh yeah, if you remember the gun. But I just this is one of those, and it all takes place in one shot. You know, the camera kind of moves back and forth as it needs to follow the action a little bit, but not by much. And it's just this one quiet shot where so much happens. Like you get the world building of there's a guy with a horse and you know, Pine doesn't look twice at him. You know, it's a perfectly normal thing. And then these jerk offs drive up, pick a fight, get their ass handed to them by a guy that we haven't seen that energy from Chris Pine yet. So this is another one of those examples of like this whole movie is there's a plot that they don't explain, and the rest is just character beats. These like really fantastic character moments.
Character building and just a wonderful button of, you got me, Mr. Pibb. Only assholes drink Mr. Pibb.
I want to ask about that. You guys know that, right? That's not just a Texas, because it is in Texas for sure. Like, you know, the only assholes drink Mr. Pibb. Like that's true as far as I'm concerned. But does that exist? Does that exist anywhere else? Is it just a Texas thing?
I've never attributed any attitude towards drinking one over the other. It's always been like when you don't have Dr. Pepper, you have Mr. Pibb. It is always the secondary.
Mr. Pibb is clearly Plan B.
We have Dr. Pepper at home.
The other option. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Hold on. I want to make sure I'm right about this.
But just so there wasn't
a lot of Mr. Pibb in Pennsylvania, right? Like mostly when you had the bargain Mr. Pibb, it was Dr. Thunder.
Dude, I knew it was going to be a doctor.
Thunder, yeah. Which is that's like that's the Walmart, that's like Kroger brand, it's the Walmart, like Sam's Choice Dr. Pepper.
It's the Walmart. It's the Walmart brand of Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Thunder.
Dr. Thunder is an incredible name for a soda.
Nick, you got another scene you want to talk about?
I mean, for me, I think it's just the casino when they're exchanging money for the first time. Just both the teller of it all, and also when he is talking to the woman at the bar, just with the chips, and just seeing the brotherly dynamic play out when they are forced to be humans with the rest of society, I think is really fascinating to me. I think Chris Pine is very much laying on the low, whereas Ben Foster is riding high, and he is not afraid to get in someone's face. But one thing that really stands out to me, very much like the gas station scene, we see Tanner very subdued during the gas station scene. We know he can take care of himself, but he chooses not to engage with the asshole in the green car. Same thing here is when he is picking a fight with the Native American man at the blackjack table or poker table. I forget what they're playing. He doesn't really, he gets in his face, but he backs down in a move that I would not expect, because I do believe that he, as we've kind of talked about already, he has a level of respect for the Comanche in particular. And there is something there of just this mutual level of, we are kind of the same person, just in different walks of life. And our society has basically abandoned us in very similar ways. So I just think that was a really, really fun scene. And then obviously this dude is awful to this woman that is chatting up Chris Pine. But regardless, we see him flip. He's mean to her, but then he's super charming with the concierge saying, you know, on your deathbed, you're gonna think of me and giggle.
By the way, you think that that's the woman in the cutaway scene too?
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe. It doesn't strike me as it, but I just love that.
So you mean to tell me he tried to charm the woman at a desk and then found a third, like, so they pass on the prostitute. He charms the woman at the desk, and yet there is a third woman.
Maybe. I don't know. He seems capable of it.
No.
You think it's the same person?
It's the woman at the desk. I think it's the woman at the desk. I thought you were wondering if it was the same actor, so I was like, I don't know that matters. But I think the character-wise, I think it's got to be the woman at the desk. But yeah, that you know, quick turn from like how he treats the prostitute at the bar, treats her horribly, And then it's another one of those great buttons of it's like, how did you stay out of jail for a whole year? And he's like, it's been difficult. But there's another really, really like a button that really sort of alleviates some of the tension there that he's caused. And then to turn on a dime and flirt with the woman at the front desk is like, that's who this guy is. And this is another thing that you like, yes, that is absolutely Ben Foster's performance, but it's the editing too. Like that's another thing where like the sneaky good editing of this, I legitimately surprised when I read that it was nominated for best editing, but when you watch it looking for it, like it's really good.
Yeah, it helps to continue that momentum. Again, the movie's always moving forward in a satisfying way. That again, this movie's what, an hour 41? Like that's a pretty tight heist caper.
There's no fat to this either.
It's all used and all used well. But yeah, just seeing them be humans is very fascinating to me because it's not really a thing that we've had a chance to do this entire movie.
No, that's a really good point about watching them interact with the real world being a thing we haven't seen much of.
You know what the other fun thing is that we didn't talk about? Like, speaking of like the Robin Hoodedness of this, like on how righteous they are, it's like even their own lawyer is on their side.
Yeah.
Like the one scene of exposition we do get to just like clarify it is just like
He's high-fiving him the entire time.
Yeah, like the lawyer like being like, this is the bank tried to rip off your mom and they thought they can get their house for like $2,500.
No, I love that lawyer because he's just getting a kick out of it. And and that's
he's one of the Nazis in Breaking Bad, isn't he?
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah. Not that guy, Tayo.
that guy, the lawyer who is fully on board with this plan, like he's got a similar energy to everybody else that we run into. That's like, yeah, go get him, kind of energy that it's the same as the waitress, and it's the same as the everybody that they come across that has a gun and start shooting at him. It's everybody's going to do what they're going to do, and because I got a right to do it, and it's that mentality that it just depends on where they're aiming.
I think the only other two I think there's two scenes left that I think are really what make this movie. It's the final robbery, and then of course the shootout between the sniper, Tanner as sniper. Those are the two like last remaining beats that I think really sell this movie. But the final bank robbery, it's the one where it's the just one last time, where things are gonna go awry when Tanner pulls over to the side of the road with Toby and just basically says, we have to go. I forget the name of the town, but we have to hit up this town because this other town is too small. And it only has one teller. This other bank we were going to hit has been shut down, which we didn't realize. So we need to do this, and we need to do this now. By the time we get there, though, this bank will be already open, and that's when things are not going to go well. And that happens with the delightful reveal of them bursting through the front door, holding their pistols, and then the camera pans over to reveal a jam-packed bank with patrons in it.
Just the whole town is there. It's that trope of it's the thing that Jeff Bridges has been saying this whole movie of just waiting for them to make a mistake, right? And then they get to the point where they're backed into a position that they're not entirely comfortable with, but they have to do it, and of course it goes bad, which is not that's a trope for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there's just the delightful set dressing of. This isn't just a bank robbery. This is a bank robbery in West Texas. So, most of these men are concealed carry. And I just love the slow reveal that they're all basically ready to play hero. And I love the way that heightens the tension here because in theory, they are just Joe Schmo. And you know what? They need to defend themselves in this situation. But we can't help but feel a sense of dread for our protagonists here. And I just love that little flip. These are innocent people looking to defend their lives. And I love that we feel this dread for our heroes.
Which is this is where the line, the fine line of making bank robbers the good guys in a movie. Like this is the finest that the line gets in this scene, right? Like it's because, we know what they're doing this for, and we know that they don't want to hurt or that Chris Pine doesn't want to hurt anybody. And then you also get this. They've also met enough people that are kind of on their side about it. That that if they talked to some of these people in the bank, they would be like, "Oh yeah, no, that makes sense." They'd be kind of like the lawyer and be like, I love it. This is hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. And just their unheroic escape, in Heat, this would be an 8-minute sequence of them getting into a shootout with everyone in the street, and then the cops would inevitably come. But this one is just very ungraceful. They're just licking their wounds, jumping into the back of a beat up pickup truck, and Chris Pine gets shot in the kidney, basically.
But even the guys that show up and start shooting at him, like there's nothing graceful or organized about them either. It's just like a bunch of like that shot where they turn around, and this again, it's how they shoot it and it's how they cut it. They just turn around and there's a bunch of mismatched cars and people just kind of like just shoot.
100%. It's just like guys.
And it's wild. It's the Wild West all of a sudden.
Guys just standing in the street and they're like, "What's that? Gunshots?" Like, let me just draw my They literally.
Let me just. Yeah.
There's literally like 4 guys walking down the street when they heard gunshots, and literally all of them had a gun.
I mean, there is a sense of like, these are people who have waited their entire life for this moment that I can't help but feel is being channeled here. But it's such a clever escalation of the stakes and the conflict that we see. And it's so cool. And then it culminates in this wonderful, the Chekhov's machine gun of, we see him earlier on pull out this badass machine gun. He goes, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not going to use it." And then when we see him pull over in the middle of the street, or in the middle of the dirt road, we know exactly what he's going to do while Chris Pine is, licking his wounds in the bed of the truck. He is getting prepped with the machine gun, and he's just going to go ham. We see the fruits of his labor of, prepping all of those machine gun clips and all duct taped together. And again, it's just the cool style choice of showing someone who knows how to use a weapon well. He empties a magazine and then flips it. It's so cool.
Yeah, that shot of him walking around the truck and like coming out into the street, just really calmly, confidently striding towards all these guys and just like peppering all those trucks with these bullets. And then, of course, everybody, they hop back in their cars and drive away, It's just like, that's not a thing. That's the difference between Tanner and those guys, Like Tanner's not walking away from anything ever.
I think this is the moment, too, that he realizes that this is a kamikaze run from now on for him.
Yeah, he's done. Yeah. He knows his ticket has been punched. He's just going to ride it as long as he can.
Yeah. Well, and then honestly, if there's one more brilliant moment for me in the movie, because we've kind of touched on some of the stuff about the sniper scene that's great. But it's this moment where they're trading cars. They get back to the other car, and Tanner says, "I love you," and Toby ends up saying, "I love you too." But they very specifically don't look at each other when they say that. They look at each other after they say it, but they don't look at each other when they're saying it. And it's that kind of choice that is just like, that's so real and so honest. And these guys, and this is another one of those cross-cutting bits where we cut between the brothers and the Rangers earlier in the movie. There's a great moment where they just can't talk about their feelings. Like they get so close and then they just kind of back away a little bit. And it's moments like that are so genuinely like familiar and real. And these are dudes that can't say that they love each other, brothers that can't look at each other when they say I love you. And that just really speaks to that's more of the genuine feel of this movie, the very, very real, very grounded, very believable feel of this movie is all in those emotional stakes too.
We're gonna talk about the last scene. We've touched.
Oh yeah,
we've touched pretty.
We gotta talk about that.
We cannot close this podcast.
Before we get there, I don't think there's a ton to break down. I just love the energy of the scene where he makes the banker fax the release of lien in front of him. I love that he's, because it kind of goes back to I think Tanner at some point tells him, like, if we're going to get through this, I need you to be mountain lion mean. And so you get to see him be mountain lion mean to this poor banker who's scared out of his mind. He's like, I'd like to see you do it.
But the banker is also like,
well, it takes time.
You can't help but feel that the banker is also pulling some nefarious trick by trying to lull him into a false sense of security.
100%.
Like, oh yeah, I'll fax this.
And then never does, and it's past the deadline, and then like.
He's got the energy of somebody that knows he's been caught.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like to me. Like he's looking across the desk at this guy and he's like, he knows what I did to his mother.
And just Chris Pine in that cowboy hat, the lip of the cowboy hat flipped up the way it is. The cowboy hat his brother had taken from him without his permission, right? Like it's so good.
Yeah. He's kind of a different guy all of a sudden. But it's really great energy in that scene. I love that scene. Let's talk about the end. You're talking about with the last conversation. Nick, I think you referred to it as the heat conversation earlier.
Yeah, it is the quintessential, the two opposing forces finally meet. And, the one thing that I appreciate about this scene over Heat is that in Heat, there is this level of mutual respect and like understanding between Pacino and De Niro. But in this, you just feel the complete and utter disdain they have for one another. Like it is, all of the subtext of their dialogue is menacing, even after Jeff Bridges meets the family.
Oh yeah, he's like, I have a house down in town. If you want to finish this conversation.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude,
continue this conversation.
It's so like there is no respect. They do not like each other, and I love that level of commitment to the bit.
I do think there is a moment after Chris Pine opens up a little bit, after Toby opens up a little bit and gives Jeff Bridges something, right? He gives him that little bit where, he starts to explain about the family and about being poor and it's a disease and all that stuff. And there's a moment where Jeff Bridges approaches an understanding, if not a respect. Like you can see him start to get it. And that is kind of satisfying, I think, to Jeff Bridges and to some degree anyway. Like, so there's a moment that approaches that, like, I don't know, maybe we can let this go. But it doesn't end there.
I think it's like, I was going to shoot you here on your front doorstep, but now I'm just going to do it later on. Like, I think there is that level of respect where I don't want to kill you in front of your family, nor do I want to kill you in front of my family. But I will. We will
that's
kill
just decorum. Like that's yeah.
But we will kill each other
manners.
at some point.
I do love the way that it's written and the way that it dances right up to that line. It tiptoes right up to that line of they're both. I mean, Jeff Bridges has got nothing to hide. Chris Pine doesn't really either. Like Chris Pine knows. He knows that Jeff Bridges knows, and he knows he's gotten away with it, and he knows it's tenuous because he has that energy of, what does he say? I'd like to be done with this. Chris Pine has to dance around saying some things a little bit, but he's not really. He's not hiding much.
I mean, like the truth of the matter is, like it's funny too that Chris Pine knows that Jeff Bridges is the only link, because even the bank isn't interested in litigating these crimes anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just like this one retired cop.
He's got nothing to lose.
If you stop by, maybe I'll give you peace.
Maybe. Maybe I'll give it to you.
So this did show up on, it was a pick in the top 10 heists of all time. In the subcategory of the goal or objective. Like every heist needs a purpose, right? And so the why of the heist. So this was my pick for that.
Yeah, it's a compelling why.
Got a shout out in the top 10 film families of all time, appropriately. Weirdly, the first one that have I referenced top 10 film families at all?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think I have. This might be the first one. But it got a shout out. It got an honorable mention in the siblings category. But that's it. Because it's just really just those two that we've talked about.
It is funny that it is in one of the best heist lists, just because I do agree. I think it's a super compelling why. But I think when you look at the grand
heist,
the
breadth scenes,
of
yeah.
what. Usually when you think of heists, you think that these are very epic and very cool, and the heists usually take
diamonds and lasers.
They take longer.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Typically, there's something prolonged about
zero cat suits in this movie.
No lasers, no secret casing the joint, but I don't know. I feel like despite this being a bank robbery movie, it feels like there's very much less emphasis placed on the heist itself as opposed to the why. And I think that's fine for this movie, but you would expect it to be a little more flashy during the heist. But I think it's fun. It feels more authentic.
Shall we torf? Tayo, you ready to torf?
All right, you guys ready?
If any of your torfs are about West Texas geography, you're not going to get me.
All right, turf number 1. Hell or High Water started with a different title. Chichewan, referencing the Chichewan Desert.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I just remember reading a title name, and I just remember it started with a C.
Got it. I believe in how he believes in it, so I'm gonna say it's true.
I'm gonna go false, just be different. Even though I bet the Hell or High Water, the title probably came from that one line that the lawyer says when he actually says the title in the movie, but I think it came to that probably in the edit or something. And they're like, that's a cool line. We should call it that.
So it is false.
Oh.
I tricked you, Cal. It was a C word, but it was the wrong C word.
Ah, damn it.
That's Cal's whole thing, saying the wrong C word at the wrong time.
It began as a Comancheria. So Comancheria. Referencing a historical region in western Texas and New Mexico. According to Deadline Hollywood, the title was later changed to Hell or High Water after a naming competition among interns at one of the production companies. And in some countries, particularly Spain, it's still known as Comancheria.
I kind of hate that it went to an intern vote, but
as most film titles do.
Yeah. It's always we'll workshop it with the interns.
This is a good one. Ben Foster drilled a hole into his tooth for the role.
Well, shit. Since you got me on the first one, I'm gonna go with true on the second.
I'm gonna go with false.
I too. I'm gonna go with false too. I'm trying to picture his teeth in the. I'm gonna go with false, but the true half is that he had like a filling or something that he took out. Like he had like a partial tooth that he took out for the role.
So, it is true.
Boom.
Wow.
But you're kind of right, Clint. So he did chisel his front tooth down, but the producers, they didn't really think it was like good enough, so they made like a fake chipped tooth for him to put over his tooth. So they just ended up like filing his front tooth down so it could go over.
Kind of for no reason, just so that they could put another fake tooth. How disappointing.
That's a level of commitment, though, still.
Mm-hmm.
The 2022 game As Dusk Falls originally began development as a licensed adaptation of Hell or High Water. While plot details remain sparse, it was intended to be a spiritual successor and fit into Taylor Sheridan's it's called American Frontier trilogy, and those films include Sicario, Hell or High Water, and Wind River.
True.
Wind River, by the way, that movie will put hair. It's not very good. It'll put hair in your chest, though. It's a tough movie to watch.
True.
Yeah, true. I bet he seems savvy enough to cash in on I'll take some money to make a video game.
I'm gonna go with true if Nick's going with true.
It is false. I made it up.
Yeah. Completely?
Oh, you made that one up from scratch?
That was pretty good.
Dude, you're getting good.
That was a convincing one.
All right.
Yeah. But I do recommend that game, though.
I feel like we all
that was a whole cloth
just
lie.
Because that was so good.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh man, I'm so proud of you for lying so thoroughly and well. That's great.
Thank you. All right, that is turf.
All right, good turf, man. Good turf. I totally believed that there was almost a Hell or High Water video game. All right, who's your MVP, guys? I bet we all have the same one.
Ben Foster.
Since we're all going to say...
Ben Foster or Taylor Sheridan.
Ben Foster or Taylor Sheridan? Yeah.
Since we're all saying those people, I'm going to say it's the waitress from the diner who... what aren't you having? She's my favorite.
Yeah, T-bone waitress. Or just the idea of T-bone waitress, I think, is the real MVP.
What don't you?
No,
like?
it's got to be Ben Foster.
I just don't. I don't think think this movie works as much without Ben Foster. However, like this is the beginning of a maybe at this current moment in time the greatest like Hollywood run of a celebrity at the moment. Like Taylor Sheridan has like literally conquered Hollywood in the time that this has happened.
Yellowstone Empire. I mean, how many spin-offs of Yellowstone does he have?
3,
4.
Like there's like the 29. Like he's gotten Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren in one of his show's spin-offs.
He got Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren to be in a spin-off of a show that he created.
And now his empire has run so far and so long that it has even produced its own, splintered faction that Kevin Costner has self-funded himself via what's the Horizon?
Yeah, yeah.
So like the empire's gone on long enough that even other things are springing out from it out of disdain for things that had happened in it. It's wonderful.
Oh man, did Horizon not turn out like Kevin Costner wanted though? It probably turned out exactly like he wanted. Who am I kidding? He paid for it.
I just want to fire off some of these names here because it's genuinely impressive, right? He's got Sicario, Hell or High Water, Wind River. He also wrote the Sicario sequel. Not great, but Those Who Wish Me Dead, Without Remorse. Those two you kind of forget them.
It's dadcore, dude.
1883. The Last Cowboy, Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King, Lioness, Yellowstone, Landman, 1923. I think this guy is like single-handedly keeping the fucking lights on in Paramount.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I mean they're paying for the lights too, but he's doing the work. I'm still giving it to Ben Foster though.
Yeah, me too. I think Ben Foster makes this movie so
he makes it memorable.
Watchable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the movie be fine with a lesser Tanner.
To your point, I can't think of a movie that has a clever plot but terrible acting. And then to just be like, well, yeah, that movie was kind of clever, but like the actors didn't do anything with it, right? Like you need the plenty of bad movies made with good scripts.
All right, so if Ben Foster's our MVP and Nick he is, where are we going to put Nicolas Cage?
This is tough.
I already have my answers.
How is this movie better if Nicolas Cage replaces any of these people? Now, this is where I did make my Red Rock West note. That era Nick Cage as Chris Pine as Toby.
Yeah, but see,
I think it probably works.
I don't think it does.
That fixes your problem, Nick, of Chris Pine being too sexy.
Whoa.
That is explicitly what I said, huh?
This is
yeah. I said what I said.
It's subtext,
too.
dude. You read my subtext.
Yeah, but this is like, you're using also like peak sexy Nick Cage here. So it's like, like you're using early '90s Nick Cage. The thing I will say about
I feel like Nick Cage is still a little lived in those days.
Maybe, but like all right. So here's my problem with the 1-to-1 on Red Rock West Nick Cage for Chris Pine. Dude, Nicolas Cage is just a California Coppola. He has no business being in the South or representing a Southerner in any capacity.
I'd like to point to a little movie called Con Air.
Where the memes are from, land of the memes.
I don't know, man. Something about raising Arizona that I feel
the land where we put the bunny back in the box.
Because I don't know. Because like even in the Red Rock West,
it's hard to say, right?
Analogy here.
I did the same
He is
thing.
a fish out of water, right? Like he just gets out of the military. It's not like he's going home. He's just like he's literally driving through that town, and he gets kind of caught up in it. But.
So what are you thinking? Present day Nick Cage as instead of Jeff Bridges?
That feels a little better. And like listen, worst comes to worst, we get a little bit of port of call. Nick Cage in there. It's a different movie, that's for sure.
I think the important thing that you lose is the fact that he's retiring, and it's because it's not just the fact that he's retiring; it's the fact that Jeff Bridges' character like represents this area that's part of the past.
No, I get it.
Its best days are right. So it's like we need to have. I would argue it's more important to have the ranger from the area than it is Chris Pine.
So let me put it to you. Then let me ask you this: What happens if we went face off Nick Cage in the Ben Foster role?
That could work. I just don't know if he could bring that level of nuance that makes this movie believable.
Academy Award winning actor Nicolas Cage can't bring nuance to a role.
I'd have to give him a cameo. I think it's one of two cameos. The guy in the green Camaro who gets beat up, or he is the man who lends Jeff Bridges the rifle at the end of the movie, who drives him up the mountain and is his spotter for him. I think that'd be great.
What if, going the cameo route, what if he's the banker at the end?
Oh, that'd be good. I think he would chew up that scenery of like,
sweaty, nervous banker.
You're
at
gonna
the
give
end.
the bank their own money back. Like, there's something there. Come hell or high water.
Oh, you're talking about the lawyer?
Oh yeah, I was going lawyer.
No, I think that's probably the choice, right? You give him a cameo, and that kind of elevates the whole movie. It's like, could you believe Nicolas Cage showed up? Like, not in a Matt Damon and Interstellar way, but in a
That's how we're pitched.
in a positive way.
Matt Damon and let's just say this right now, it can be completely off the topic. Matt Damon in Interstellar is like maybe the cameo that has taken me out of a movie the most.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like so blindsided.
No, I think we can all agree on that. That's very specifically why I made that joke.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right. So where did you guys have this on your list? I had it on mine. I had it at number 43 on mine, which feels pretty high.
That is pretty high.
That is pretty high.
But I was really impressed with this movie, and I still am. Like, and watching it, I feel like I watched it this time in kind of a different. Yeah, I kind of watched it after I did some research, and sort of looking at things more, like specific things more critically, like the editing that we talked about, and the music and stuff like that. I really like this movie.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I think it just ticks a very sweet spot of, like, when someone mentions Hell or High Water, you can just confidently be like, dude, that's a badass movie. Like, great. That's all I need to know, really. Like,
Cool.
Like, it passes the test of just like, do you want to watch this movie and like have a beer? Yeah, that sounds nice. I didn't actually have this one on my list. However, it was in my honorable mentions. It was in my 10 that didn't make the list. So it was almost there.
That's right. That was a season 4 ad by the algorithm. Is they demanded that we all put 10 additional honorable mentions that got a certain amount of weighted points. So it was in your in your almost made it.
Yeah, very, very high on my almost made it.
I'm gonna say that like bank robberies are disproportionately represented on my list, probably compared to you two.
I believe you.
Having said that, this did not make my list. I think it is a very, very good. I think it is a very good film, but like I think it's swimming in the wake of other films that did what it did well better.
I'm also being told that neither Alex nor Dan had it on their list, nor did Tayo. So this is just a Clint and Nick joint.
That's just a Clint joint.
Where I had
Nick
it ranked,
has it as an honorable mention.
I had it ranked pretty high, 43, and you had it honorable mention style. So
that's the Howard Boy special.
You guys got an envelope there?
We do have an envelope.
There you go.
Should I open it?
Yeah, pop it open. Yeah, we're putting this like what? Mid one list. I'm putting that in the high low 90s, high 80s.
It's got to be up there. Yeah. I mean, if it's mid in my list and then an honorable mention, I'm not sure how honorable mentions work with the algorithm. So I mean, it's got to be up there. Like I'll go the highest of 90s. I'm gonna go 99.
I'll go like 89.
All right. Where we at? Where we at?
Are we revealing it?
Yeah.
All right. It is
way off.
Hell or High Water, number 188.
Not 100.
This is a not 100. Okay. 40. I don't think. Hey, take it easy.
I'm
segue.
I'm new to this show. I've never seen a number go this high.
Well, never seen a not 100. Yeah, you didn't know we went all the way up there. So this is what the new thing. The thing that we are doing this season. If we come across a not 100 like this. If we, like instead of booting a movie off of the list and then having an envelope full of choices of what we're going to replace it with, if we think that a not 100 should be on the list, we now have an envelope full of choices of movies that are on the list already that we're going to boot to put Hell or High Water.
So do we get to look at these ahead of time and just...
No. We got to decide. If we want to add Hell or High Water to the top 100, there are movies in that envelope that are currently on the top 100.
I'd rather retroactively boot movies that are in the envelope.
Yeah, I think that's way more fun. So I want to put Hell or High Water on the list
Yeah.
because I want to remove something from the list.
You just want to pick one to pull
let's
just
see
to see the mechanic in action.
I'm channeling my Tanner Howard here.
Okay, so real quick, like, you're gonna be mountain lion mean about this?
Yeah.
So what this means is, if we want to add Hell or High Water to the top 100, one of these movies is gonna be gone.
All right, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, it sounds like fun. That sounds fun.
Let's do it.
Do you consent?
Great. I feel like Tanner would be proud. No, listen, it was my number 43. I love this movie.
We've made questionable, and this includes me. All right, we made questionable choices.
It's very big of you, including yourself in that statement.
I stand by my own.
All right.
They're my tastes, and I stand by them.
Okay, so Hell or High Water is sitting at 188, but it's about to get jumped into the top 100. What do we got?
All right.
You can't be doing this.
There's only three. Tayo
We get three choices.
We had four when we had a boot one.
It's getting harder. Oh man.
Wait, what are they?
Are you
All right, ready?
Are you just deciding for yourself, or are you going to let us know?
All right, calm down. All right.
Okay.
Do we want to boot 28 days later?
Interesting.
28 Days Later is on the list.
Do we want to boot Wally?
Interesting.
Okay. 28 Days Later and Wally.
And Nick, I'm holding one movie here.
Well, what is it?
If you had a guess,
Is it Heat?
it is Heat.
Okay, well, we're not booting Heat from the list. All right, let's be very.
We're not booting Heat.
Yeah, no, I agree. We are not.
I think-
We
listen, I'm not gonna-
are not booting Heat from this list.
The number of times, and not just this episode, I feel like you've referenced Heat in every episode that you've been on so far. So, like, I'm not gonna make it boot Heat.
R.I.P. Val Kilmer. We are 100% not booting Heat from this list.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're down to 28 Days Later or Wally.
Yeah.
Two clear apples to apples kind of comparison.
I already have my choice.
28 Days Later or Wally for Hell or High Water.
I think I got it. I actually, you know what? I'm going back. I'm going back and forth. We're.
I think
You first.
man.
You forced number 45. You're
trying to
the
think of-
guy that
'cause we've already.
wants it on the list real bad.
I know. I would say 28 Days Later. I think Wally is. I don't know. Wally did stuff to the industry. I think that 28 Days Later didn't necessarily. Wally and The Dark Knight changed the Oscars. You know, like
how many movies that were shot on DV do you watch regularly?
that's fair. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen a lot. Zombies have been slow ever since 28 Days Later, so it didn't do shit. No, I would go with 28 Days Later.
Yeah. I mean,
Nick, you already made up your mind.
I already made it. I'm sorry. I love Wally, but I'm sorry, Wally. I adore 28 Days Later. I love that movie.
so
yeah.
you're going 28 days later. So it's down to me.
Yeah, it's down to you.
It's up to you, Cal.
Let me ask you a question, Nick.
Yes.
If you had to pick one movie where zombies run,
Yes, go on.
are you gonna pick 28 Days Later, made by Academy Award winning director Danny Boyle, or are you gonna pick Dawn of the Dead remake by Nick Lamone, listed director Zack Snyder?
You got a lot of room on your list for zombies, I guess.
Hey, man, I was I love zombies, man.
Okay.
I think
All right.
for me,
Cal,
you don't have Dawn of the Dead. You don't have Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead without 28 Days Later.
Yeah, you don't. You're right.
I'm just fascinated to learn whose votes got, because I don't think any of these movies are on my list. Wally might be.
I think Wally's on
But I
mine.
don't know. It's up to you, Cal.
Honestly, you vote to boot 28. Hold on, let me just. I'm gonna be real here. I don't even know if either of these are on my list.
So it makes you a perfect impartial judge to make this decision.
This is the classic Robin Hood paradox here. All right. Let me be absolutely clear in my thinking. I genuinely enjoy watching 28 Days Later and have gone back to it multiple times. I I don't think I have seen WALL-E since I saw it in theaters in 2008, but I do acknowledge its artistic merit. I'm with you, Lamone. Let's go. 28 days.
Oh, we're keeping 28
We're
days.
keeping 28 days later.
Dude.
You're kicking Wally?
Yeah, we're kicking WALL-E.
Wow.
Wally, we never even got a chance to get to know you.
I mean, listen, I want to live in a world where both Heat and 28 days later are still on our lists.
Tayo, you have eyes on the list in ways that we're not allowed to have. Where does this put Hell or High Water now?
Yeah, it is number 49.
Wow. So it's closer to Clint.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's right where it belongs, I guess. WALL-E was up there in the top half.
Yeah.
That feels like a Dan-ass movie, though. It really does. Well, listen, Hell or High Water had a pretty good day, I think. We talked about it for close to 2 hours, and then now it jumped up 140 spots or whatever on the list. So, that was a fun mechanic. I'm glad you guys had a good time with that, because it was like I do think that Ben Foster kind of influenced us in terms of just like, f it. So that's gonna do it for us this week. Thank you for joining us, joining the family, and helping us rob banks and rearrange our list a little bit. But also thank you to cowboy producer Tayo Oyekan for herding us across the river before the fire got here. Thanks to Texas Midlands branch managers, technical producers Marhyan, Franzen, and Amir, Rakib. Thanks also to a rattlesnake of a waitress, production manager Tanner Smith, and that smug sumbitch who's been robbing me for 30 years. No thank yous for Dan. But join us next time. We will be broadening our definition of what a family really is. Once again with The Graduate. Super close-knit family.
Frick yeah.
Action there in The Graduate.
I'm excited.
So until then, stay safe, be good. We'll see you next time. Hey friends, thanks again for watching our CineFix Top 100 on Hell or High Water. We'll be back next week, but before you go, I need to remind you once again, IGN Live is coming to downtown Los Angeles on June 7th and 8th. Come hang out with us for an exciting live show all weekend while we interview awesome people in the games industry, celebrities in entertainment, host panels, and much, much more. We're also giving away just a ton of prizes. Seriously, it's a ridiculous amount of prizes. It's kind of a mistake. And we'll have playable gaming stations, arcades, and spots to hang out all over the show floor. You can expect to see 2K Sports, Netflix, Arcade 1UP, and many others are going to be making appearances. Head over to ign.com/live, or if you're watching this video, scan the QR code on screen to grab your tickets.